From the News 15 studio, you're watching First at 4's Mayor President Debate.
Well, good evening and welcome to a special edition of News 15, the Lafayette Mayor President Debate. I'm Jeff Horchak.
And I'm Taylor Trichet. For the next hour, the candidates for Lafayette Mayor President will answer questions pertaining to Lafayette and its future. We welcome incumbent Josh Guillory and challengers Monique, Blanco-Boulet, and Jan Swift.
Here are the ground rules for the debate, which the candidates were provided in advance. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, followed by questions allowing for 1-minute answers. Now, the questions were compiled by News 15 from journalists as well as viewers.
Now, should a candidate be the target of an answer that requires a rebuttal, that person will have 30 seconds to respond. The debate will conclude with closing statements of 2 minutes each.
Now, prior to our broadcast, random drawings determine podium positions and the order for opening statements. We'll begin with Ms. Blanco-Boulet for an opening statement, followed by Ms. Swift and Mr. Guillory. Again, you have 2 minutes each.
Thank you all. Thank you, Taylor and Jeff. 9 years ago, I stepped into an economic development district in crisis. Today, the Acadiana Planning Commission is one of the strongest in the nation. Under my leadership, we brought in over $250 million of economic and infrastructure investment into Acadiana. And just recently, with the $1.1 billion advanced manufacturing facility coming to Acadiana, I was instrumental in bringing 700 new jobs, high-end jobs with good benefits to our region. I will position Lafayette Parish for the same kind of big wins. A few things you need to know about me. Yes, I am the daughter of Raymond and Kathleen Blanco. I'm a devout Catholic. I have been pro-life my entire life. As a child, growing up hunting and fishing in the swamps and marshes of Louisiana, I'm a strong Second Amendment advocate. I'm the only candidate born and raised in Lafayette Parish. I know our people. I'm passionate about our future. And this is my home. I've been married to David Boulet for 30 years. We have 4 beautiful children. The oldest, Kathleen, is an oil and gas engineer in Houston. David and Zach are in college here in Louisiana. And Sam just made the boxing team at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. What you need to know about my priorities. First, I will bring transparency and honesty back to LCG. We will then address crime, drainage, and economic development. I look forward to talking about these items and much more in our conversations this evening. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Swift, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you to KDN for this opportunity. You know, I've been told that most people make up their mind about who they're going to vote for about 2 weeks before an election. Well, here we are. Think of your vote as a dollar bill. Where will you invest your dollar? Where will you spend it? Let's look at the possibilities. First of all, you have Josh Guillory. If you want to continue on our current course of FBI investigations, 96.7% of contracts going to one company with no bids, endless litigation expenses, and $160 million going into digging holes with no master plan for drainage, then that's where you'll spend your dollar. Let's look at our second choice. If you want local government run by, as a mayor of the state of Louisiana under John Bel Edwards, by a lifelong Democrat who changed her party late last year to Republican, who changed parties but not philosophies, and who does have the support of John Bel Edwards, who's raised over 40% of her campaign funds from outside of our parish, then Monique Blanco-Boulet is your choice. Or you have a third choice. If you want a lifelong Republican of 42 years who's never changed parties, I have government experience at the local, state, and national level, and I know that government should serve people rather than the other way around. You can spend your dollar, your vote on me. The truth is, I'm not experienced in the form of government we have now, and I'm not experienced in running a political machine. I don't call on people outside of our parish to raise money. 97% of my contributions have come locally. What I do offer is a vision of leadership that will move our city and parish forward. You deserve better than what you have right now. I'm asking you to spend your dollar, your vote, on me. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
Thank you, and thank you to KDN for this opportunity for us to communicate with those that I'm blessed to serve, our constituents, our wonderful constituents. Look, it's a great time to be in Lafayette. There's no better place to be. Over the last 4 years, we've had some huge successes, huge wins. 4 years ago, I promised the people of Lafayette that I'd focus on things that matter. I'd focus on our priorities. And that's exactly what we've done. Over the last 4 years, we've invested record amount into drainage. Just in 4 years, we've added 1.25 billion gallons of storage to our drainage system. We've added miles and miles of conveyance structures, roadside ditches, subterranean drainage, and the successes keep coming on. We've invested in our roads. Just look around. In our local roads over the last 4 years, we've resurfaced more than 210 miles of local roads. We have huge successes and our future is bright. Our quality of life is high. Look at our investments in Brown Park. We're bringing a softball and baseball complex that's going to complement our friends in Youngsville and Broussard and other investments in our parish. We just had a groundbreaking at Moore Park to bring a super soccer complex to Lafayette. We're bringing a new skate park to Lafayette. Just last week, we announced that we're opening a multi-sport, first-class indoor facility right here in Lafayette, the size of which the floor is 3 times greater than the size of the floor in the Cajun Dome. Our quality of life is high. Our economy is booming. Our unemployment's at 2.8%, the lowest in the state. I believe in oil and gas. I'll never turn my back on oil and gas. That's probably why I'm the only candidate in this race that's endorsed by the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, or LOGA. But I believe in diversification, and we've done just that. We're seeing an increase in industries such as transportation, logistics, innovation, technology. Our healthcare system is diverse and growing and robust. Our higher ed is robust, and we're going to continue to have these wins. It has been such an honor to serve the great people of Lafayette, and I'd love to continue to do that.
Thank you all for those opening remarks. For our very first question, we'd like to begin with the topic of corruption. A TV ad being run by Ms. Swift alleges corruption at LCG as it shows media headlines implying Mr. Guillory is on the take.
And then today, Mr. Guillory's campaign filed for an injunction to keep Ms. Blanco-Boulet's campaign from calling him corrupt. Now, Ms. Swift and Ms. Blanco-Boulet, do you believe the current mayor president is corrupt, and should he be ousted by the voters? You have 1 minute for a response. Ms. Swift first, then Ms. Blanco-Boulet, and finally Mr. Guillory.
I'll tell you this, I believe our government is broken. When I think of corruption, I think of a broken file, and I'm talking about broken government. We wouldn't have used those words if we didn't have more than 300 articles. Everybody's been reading the paper. Everybody in Lafayette Parish knows what's going on. So when I speak of waste, abuse, and corruption, I'm basing it on fact. I want to see us keep our assets going. I want to see us use our money well. And we have spent so much money on projects that have ended up in litigation. Our system is broken. Now, as far as the ad, I do want to say I look forward to serving our community too. We're going to have an open, transparent government where people are free to come into the mayor's office and talk and to see their parish president. I want to serve everybody in our community, north, south, east, and west, and not play favorites with 1 or 2 contractors and friends.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
So I'm going to say Josh Guillory cannot defend his record of failure. He doesn't like what he's hearing, so what does he do? He files a lawsuit. That's how we manage at City Hall. We file a lawsuit if you don't like what you're hearing. It's the most expensive form of government, business, organization that's out there. So I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back down. I mean, you can sue. Everybody can sue. I just don't think it's worked. They've run a campaign so far based on bullying, intimidation, and threats. Our businesses throughout this city have been threatened. Many have been hurt. Business has been taken away if they don't fall in line politically. It's silliness. And this town is ready for a change because of it. And it's not because of the words Jane or I use.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
Hey, the people of Lafayette Parish and our great city and parish, they see through this. They're not going to fall for these attacks. Look, my opponents have no foundation. They have no basis. They have no platform. Their only platform is to attack. But look, I get it. You have a conservative mayor president in office right now. You have a conservative mayor president that stood up to your buddy, John Bell Edwards, when he wanted to mask our children, our families, and I stood up to that. You have a conservative mayor president that kept the economy rolling during COVID-19. You have a conservative mayor president, and I get it. You don't like me. I understand that. I get that. But you have a conservative mayor president that keeps our economy rolling, that's actually getting things done for the people. But the people see through your attacks. They know better, and they will not fall for these Washington politics.
Can I reply?
Sure, go right ahead.
Yes.
What is not conservative and not Republican is corruption, waste, and mismanagement. Period.
And may I say something?
Go right
Yes.
ahead.
Josh, you're likable. I give you that. But when I look at conservative principles, a conservative is someone that knows that they can spend their money better than government. And we don't have that right now. We are wasting tens of millions of dollars. And that's my rebuttal.
All right, and facts matter. So when I took office, we had an $18 million deficit that I inherited in the city general fund. COVID hits, our forecast is going to be another $10 million. You can say what you want in a 30-second to 60-second platform, but our people are smarter than you give them credit for. Look at the facts. We have balanced the budget, we have done more with less, and actions speak louder than words. I trust the people, not this rhetoric that you're hearing on this stage.
How much in federal funds came in to balance the budget?
All right, we're going to move on to
We
our
have
next
to go to our
question.
next question, guys.
The answer is zero.
Right, well, a recent poll provided to local media outlets suggested this race is a very close one and implied negative perceptions of Mr. Guillory. Now, the group behind that poll claimed to be independent and not affiliated with any candidate. Ms. Blanco-Boulet's campaign denied rumors that it was behind the survey.
But after further review, it appears that Ms. Blanco-Boulet's nephew is the founder of that group. Ms. Blanco-Boulet, is that accurate? And if so, what does that say to voters about you when it comes to transparency? You have 1 minute to respond, followed by Mr. Guillory and then Ms. Swift.
So I did not release the poll, nor did I say it was independent. That was KATC. It was not my poll, but it was one single poll. And the reality is it is very consistent with the polls from January, the polls done by other people, by my opponents. When you see trends in polls, that's what you look for. So one single poll may not define a race, but when it's consistent, and now I think since the tirade that came out of LCG on that poll, others have stepped out and done their own polls to get their own numbers, and everything I'm hearing is that they're consistent.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
This is right out the National Democrat playbook. Run a push poll, advertise it, fundraise, but again, our people see through it. Actions speak louder than words. There's only one poll that matters, and that poll is on Election Day, and I humbly ask for everyone's support. Look at the actions, look at what our productivity is, look at the drainage improvements, look at the road improvements, look at the quality of life improvements, look at our economy. None of those happen by accident. I don't claim to say it happens just because of one person, because it takes a team, but it takes one person to bring it down, and I'm not that person.
All right, Ms. Swift.
Politics can be ugly. And I didn't have anything to do with any of these other polls. We released a poll in August that showed that 2/3 of the voters don't want to see Josh Guillory reelected. The polls have been consistent. And Josh, you've done your own poll. You just haven't released all the details. I don't know what's in it. But I can tell people, I know that 2/3 of you are looking for a choice. You want to change. And a poll's not going to change your mind. You're going to look at each of us. We're 3 independent candidates who, yes, everybody runs polls. They cost a lot, but when they're consistent and when people see the same information fine-tuned as we get closer to the election, here we are 2 weeks away, you are the one that's going to decide this election. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Guillory, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
There's not much to say. Again, actions speak louder than words. People don't trust push polls, and that's exactly what my fellow candidates are trying to sell to the people.
All right, let's move on to our next question. We're talking about crime. It's one of the top issues for voters across our state, and here in Lafayette, Police Chief Judith Estorge, appointed by Mr. Guillory, has been the top cop for a little under a year now. And the department's promoted a number of community initiatives on her watch.
Now, how would you all rate LPD's performance under the chief when it comes to crime prevention right here in the Hub City? And in your views, is there more that we could or should be doing? You have 1 minute for replies. We'll begin with Mr. Guillory, followed by Ms. Swift, and then Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
Chief Estorge is a wonderful leader. I was happy and very honored to confirm her early. So she is now civil service protected. I believe our department deserved that. I think she deserved that. I think she earned that. That's not anything that was given to her. Look, I'm proud of our Lafayette Police Department. When you saw in COVID, crime just spike across our country. Lafayette did not keep up with that trend. We did have an increase, but we took it very serious. And you know, I'm very proud to say, even in the tight budget that we've had over the last couple of years, you know, we've been able to give our police officers a pay raise every single year. Same for our firefighters. It's still not enough. And you know, we're asking the council right now to consider a pay raise, a significant pay raise for our police officers and our firefighters. But to answer your question on point, I think Chief Estorage is doing a wonderful job. We live in a safe community, and I'm honored to serve with all of our stakeholders in law enforcement.
All right, Ms. Swift.
I've been honored to work with Crime Stoppers. I'm on the board. I was chair last year. And I cannot thank our first responders enough. They'll never make enough money to cover what it costs to put your life on the line every day. I do admire Chief Estorage. She's the 6th police chief that we've had. Our first police chief was protected by civil service, and he was fired the first day on the job. We've gone through several others, and Chief Estorage is doing a great job. They always need more resources, but right now the police force has low morale. A lot of our 30-plus year veterans have an app on their watch, and they're counting the days until they can retire. We have got to focus more on putting as many cameras as we can, giving our police resources, especially to help fight the homeless issue, which is growing. But I do believe our police force is doing a great job, and I thank them.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
Thank you. So today, there are many police officers. I think they reach out to myself and to Jan, and they will tell you there's an uptick in shootings, there's an uptick in teenage violent crime, there's an uptick in crime, and they don't feel the support from the administration. We have an average of 12 to 14 police officers on patrol at any given time throughout the entire city. We should have 20 to 25. The police department is asked to protect this entire city without a solid relationship with the administration. I think you have to be able to rely on each other, and it's become political and it's become transactional, and we're seeing those results in crime on the streets and in the way people feel. Wherever you go, and I don't care if it's on the north side or the south side, that is one of the first subject matters that comes up. What are you going to do about crime? People are very concerned about it, and I think it starts with that relationship at the top.
All right, thank you so much for those answers. We're going to move on to our fourth question. Lafayette is experiencing an affordable housing crisis right now, according to a recent report from Housing Louisiana. LCG is currently moving forward on a proposal by Mr. Guillory to relocate city courts so that its building can be torn down to make way for private housing development.
But as we understand it, this development would be for market rate apartments, which may be out of the price range for many. What types of private-public deals to grow housing options should LCG undertake? And is this project one of them? Again, 1 minute each for these responses. We'll begin with Ms. Swift, followed by Mr. Guillory, and then Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
I'm all for public-private partnerships. When I served as an assistant city parish attorney for 7 years, I worked with community development. We would partner with HUD and Habitat for Humanity, in particular, to build affordable housing in areas of our community in North Lafayette that needed revitalization. I love the idea of mixed-use developments. I'm very saddened to see our city court be torn down. It's a usable building. It's got 20 years of life left in it. We're not going to be offering affordable housing. We will be offering good options. But I hate to see us waste our public dollars when we could be investing and partnering to make real affordable housing for young people. I heard this weekend Bill Bakke tell me that the average house that sale is around $280,000, $290,000 and up. It's out of reach of the average citizen. I will work to bring in affordable housing without wasting taxpayer dollars.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
So we have stakeholders at the federal level that really have a lot more of a vested interest in this and a lot more resources. We do work, Jan mentioned some of them, we do work with HUD, we do work with CDBG, Community Development Block Grants that LCG has partnered with our stakeholders, our partners in Washington, also home grants and other grants. But here locally, our Housing Authority, I feel, does a wonderful job. I meet with them regularly. The leadership there is strong. I think they have their thumb on the pulse, to say the least. But I believe that government should do what government does, and it's our role to make sure that our infrastructure is in place and make sure that our community is safe, and we are. Those stats that that Ms. Blanco said was absolutely inaccurate, but I don't want to put our police officers in a bad position, but I can tell you it's a blatant false misrepresentation of the truth. But I will tell you our housing authority does a great job. I enjoy partnering with them. I enjoy partnering with our congressman and our delegation in Washington. But government needs to continue to invest in infrastructure, make sure our roads are paved, make sure our drainage is addressed, our public safety is there, our quality of life is high, and our economy continues to roll.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet, you have a minute.
So you asked about the city court project. I don't know. It really hasn't been publicly discussed what that deal honestly looks like for the amount of money we're putting into it and what we're going to get for it. If government is going to participate, I think you have to look, you also have to consider not only affordable housing, but workforce housing. We want housing for our young professionals to be able to participate in downtown, for our teachers, for our first responders. And so if government is involved, it should be a mix. It should be a catalytic investment. It should not just be a one-time private-public deal off to the side. I can't speak to the city court deal because it hasn't really been discussed publicly.
So I disagree with that. It has been discussed publicly through council meetings, and we are at the very early stages. And I need my partners. I need my partners on the council, and they're working very hard on this. I love serving with our two judges over at City Court and our marshal. Very beginning part of this process. At any point, if any of our stakeholders feel like we need to change course, then that's something that we'll do. But we are doing it in a public process, and we're going to continue to do so.
All right, Ms. Swift, would you like rebuttal?
I just have one thing to say. I had talked to the judges just about other business the week before all this was announced in the news. They didn't know what was going on. So maybe it's been discussed now at the council because it hit the fan, but nobody knew what was going on. And the people in city court that work there, I've met with them, they haven't gotten raises in years. And we're tearing down the building they work in. Why don't we give them raises? Why don't we spend our dollars better? Why don't we have conservative leadership? That's my rebuttal to what's been said.
All right, thank you all. We're going to now take a little breath, take a little quick water break for the candidates as well as for the moderators as well.
We'll be back in about 2 minutes for the second half of the News 15 Mayor President debate. Stay with us.
Live from the News 15 studio, you're watching First at 4's Mayor President debate.
All right, welcome back to this special edition of News 15, the Lafayette Mayor President debate. I'm Jeff Horchak.
And I'm Taylor Trichet. We hope you're finding this hour to be informative as we explore Lafayette's future with incumbent Josh Guillory and challengers Jan Swift and Monique Blanco-Boulet. Now let's get into the next round of these questions.
It seems to be common knowledge that Ms. Blanco-Boulet switched political affiliations before entering this race. Now she changed from the Democratic Party, with which her family's had a long history, to the Republican Party. And that means all three of you are running as Republicans.
So what do voters need to know about the type of Republican that each of you are? Candidates, can you explain why you are a Republican and what that party designation means to you? You each have about a minute, beginning with Ms. Blanco, followed by Ms. Swift and Mr. Guillory.
So I have been pro-life my entire life. I hunt and fish, strong advocate of the Second Amendment. I am a fiscal conservative, and I have an oil and gas family. My husband was the director of oil and gas and energy for the state of Louisiana under Governor Mike Foster. My daughter is an oil and gas engineer in Houston. She travels the world with the company she works for. I changed parties. My philosophy aligns with the Republican Party.
All right, Ms. Swift.
I became a Republican back when I was in law school at LSU in the early 80s. I've always been a Republican. Ronald Reagan was in, and he gave us hope for a future, and he gave me hope. I was able to go to law school, pay off my student debt, work in a law firm. I've had so many opportunities, and throughout that, I've always been a fiscal conservative. I believe what Lincoln told us. Government should do for the people what they can't do for themselves. I don't want to see government digging into our lives, but I do want to see government helping us. I was given a hand up, and I was able to repay that debt, so I want to pay it forward. But I'm very conservative with money. When I ran the Secretary of State's office, I made sure that we only hired who we needed, and we were very fiscally tight. I bring that into my personal life. I've brought that into my private law practice. When I ran Upper Lafayette Economic Development and all the other endeavors I've had, I've always been striving to use each dollar to the best of my ability. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
Hey, I'm a proud Republican, but I understand that I represent everyone, and I take pride in that. We've actually been able to have a lot of conservative wins in a bipartisan matter over the last 4 years. But I believe in a strong border. I believe in limited government at the federal level. I think the local level should be empowered as much as it can. I believe that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's what we've been doing. I believe in life begins at conception, and that we should do everything that we can to protect life from the womb to natural death. That's my belief, and that's what we've protected. I believe that when government oversteps, when government infringes, bad things happen. If you want to see those conservative values in action, look how we handled the government, look how we handled everything in 2020. When civil unrest, when Antifa spinoffs came to Lafayette in 2020 to try to take over, we stood up to them because we believe in law enforcement and we believe in law and order. When the government in Baton Rouge and Washington wanted to overreach and mask up and shut down everything and bring us to our knees, we did go on our knees. We got on our knees to pray, and we kept the government open. And I know I'm running out of time, but I can continue on and on, but I'm strongly a Republican. I believe in those values.
May I say something?
Yes.
I'd like to point out that I'm the only lifelong Republican here. I've never switched parties. I've always stayed true to Republican principles and philosophies. So what you see is what you get. I'm not going to change my party when it suits me. I'm not going to do anything to change my party just to get ahead.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet, you have a rebuttal?
Sure. Today, mailboxes across Acadiana were hit with a flyer from Josh Guillory saying he was a lifelong Republican. He's not a lifelong Republican. He's changed parties twice. It's very typical of what we get from this administration. It's just not being honest. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to commit to you, I will be honest. I will not lie about my party. I will not lie about how I work. And that's what you're going to get from a Boulet administration.
All right, Mr. Guillory, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Look, I'm a lifelong Republican. They know that. I did switch my voting registration when I moved to Youngsville. There was a hiccup. When I switched over my address, it put me, I think, as a no party. Clearly, anybody that knows that I'm very much a conservative Republican. As soon as I noticed that error, and it was right before I voted for President Trump in the primary, can these two say the same? I don't know. But I know I can. And when I noticed that, I changed it immediately right back. I'm absolutely a lifelong Republican.
So there's
and no one
two
believes.
changes.
Well, yeah, you changed it back because it was an error.
No, it was two changes to the same party.
Monique, the people of Lafayette see through it.
And I voted for Trump both times. I've been on panels where
That was a good vote.
where I've been a token where people were trying to bait me on that. I did it because I didn't know that I had good alternatives, but I've been a Trump voter, and I don't want to be painted as something that I'm not.
That's good.
I am going to tell the truth, and I'm not going to make up things just so people feel that somebody else should be slandered. We should all tell the truth up here.
I would like to answer.
Go ahead.
So I worked very closely with the Trump administration. Forbes magazine identified our initiative as one of the top in the 20 for opportunity zones. That was one of his biggest initiatives. The White House spent 2 days here in Acadiana with our office, and then we co-hosted an event with the Trump administration, with his top cabinet secretaries in the Eisenhower building. He was a tremendous asset to Acadiana in that initiative, and I am proud to have worked hard with him.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Guillory. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, and look, there's only one candidate in this race that's endorsed by the Republican Party of Lafayette Parish, and that's me. I'm endorsed by every single chief of police in the parish. I'm endorsed by every mayor in the parish. These are Republicans, conservative Republicans. I'm endorsed by the sheriff of Lafayette Parish and the district attorney of Lafayette Parish, all Republicans and no Republican values. The people of Lafayette see through these baseless allegations.
All right, we got to move on to our next question. Let's talk about the flooding threat that Lafayette faces. LCG has undertaken a number of controversial and costly dredging and detention projects in recent times to alleviate flood concerns. Some of these drainage projects have resulted in the awarding of no-bid contracts that are under scrutiny, and others have sparked legal battles with residents.
And some critics claim that there hasn't been enough study done to determine the effectiveness of these efforts. What should be Lafayette's approach to flood control? Big question. And the current route, some tweaks, or possibly a totally new approach. Now, you each have 1 minute to respond. We'll begin with Ms. Swift, followed by Mr. Guillory, and then Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
Well, my first approach is going to be to follow the law. We're not going to have no-bid contracts. We're going to go in and get an engineer to tell us where we are and where we should be. The Homewood project, I've been out to Milton several times to meet with the residents. That one project is not even guaranteed to help flooding, and the cost is up apparently from Ms. Pam Granger, the engineer, to be up to $72 million. We also face fines from the EPA and the Corps of Engineers up to $42,000 a day for not getting permits when we should have. We have dug holes, we've taken property out of St. Martin Parish without even telling the City Council, passing an ordinance to approve it, or even getting permission from Mr. Ed Frances, the 1/3 landowner. We're going to follow the law. We're going to address the drainage issues, but we're going to invest our money well. We're not just going to squander it on no-bid contracts going to one contractor, Rigid Constructors.
All right, Mr. Guillory, you have 1 minute.
Look, to say that there's no bid contracts, you're incorrect, okay? You either don't know the law, you don't know the facts, or you don't care. But the project that you're referring to is the spoil bank removal. There were 5 bids. That was an as-needed contract. As-needed contracts were utilized way before I got in office. They're utilized here, and in certain circumstances, they get the job done quicker. But every project is overseen by many, many civil service employees. By the time a contract comes to my office, because you're implying a few things that are inaccurate. When a contract comes to my office, there's about 8 to 12 signatures on there that review these processes, and most of them are civil service employees that have nothing to gain or lose. They're not politically motivated. There's checks and balances. Are there mistakes? Absolutely. We're human. But it doesn't rise to the level of corruption or any other false allegation that you're implying or directly stating.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet, 1 minute.
So drainage should always be made with data-driven processes. We should always be looking at data before we make decisions. It seems that the projects we've chosen have been very transactional. How can we get as much money out the door as fast as possible, even sometimes without signing contracts, sometimes without procurement? And that was shown in the audit, which is a legal official document. It's not rumor, it's real. There is a difference. We have this new fast pace of government. And in government, you have bureaucracy. And bureaucracy is bad. Something might sit on somebody's desk for too long, or somebody wants a sidekick. Those are bad things. And then there's checks and balances, which are put in place to protect taxpayer dollars, to keep people from stealing money from government. All of it has been wiped away. Our decision-making process has become transactional. It is, let's go to Homewood. 22 feet above sea level, we are putting a detention pond, so water has to be pumped up. It's farmland, so it's topsoil and porous. It has to be lined. The maintenance and operation on that project is mind-blowing to me, and I don't think LCG has those funds in place for the long term, nor do I think, if you talk, we have a very technical community, so if you talk to engineers, other than the ones that benefited financially, they all have concern that there really is no drainage benefit in that project.
All right,
So the Homewood project was identified as a site before I took office. It was identified as a site by a civil service that's not politically motivated, okay? Civil service employee that's an engineer that had nothing to gain or lose by a project going forward. What you're seeing by my opponents is paralysis by analysis. They want to study, to study, to study, to study. I am absolutely science driven. I'm not an engineer. I let the subject matter experts make the decision, analyze the situation. I was chomping at the bit in 2020 because I was waiting on the studies to come in. But once the science is there and the project's funded, we don't waste time. We go help people. And I'll never forget the victims of the 2016 flood, the flash flood in June or July of 2019, and so many other people in our parish that still have anxiety when a rainstorm comes in.
And I think the people of Milton have extreme anxiety today. I think it's unfair to expect them to believe that this project is going to protect them. And I don't think they do. I mean, we've all been in that community and felt the anxiety and fielded the questions. So there is a stakeholder that's left out of many of the decisions, and that would be the citizens of Lafayette Parish.
And I don't know about driven by science. I don't know why we had to go in, we being LCG, we're responsible. This contractor went in to St. Martin Parish in the middle of the night. I have video of it on my phone. No one knew what was going on. It was done after dark. They finished by sunlight. That project could have been done in the light of day, just like all these other projects have not been done in the light of day. But that's a visual picture I want you to think of. We didn't get permits, we didn't get permission from all the landowners, and we blocked the Vermilion in the middle of the night.
All right, We're going to move on to our next question. In one of Mr. Guillory's TV ads, he claims that some in the media aren't his biggest fans, implying that he's received unfair scrutiny during this campaign.
Mr. Guillory, who are you referring to, and why do you feel you've been treated unfairly? And for the other candidates, do you feel coverage of this race has been fair and equitable? Mr. Guillory, will begin with you, followed by Ms. Swift and Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
Hey, look, it's a very easy answer. And I was very careful in my words. Some in the media have. Look, they've been headline driven, not story driven. I'm not saying you two individuals who are wonderful and I love and have a history with, okay? But there are definitely some in your industry that are more focused on sensationalism, and it's unfair because your profession at one time was very objective and people relied on that. But I also have empathy for you guys because it's a competitive market out there. You know, with the advent of 24-hour news cycles in the early 90s, things have gone really haywire in your industry. But I don't blame you. But I definitely think there's some in the industry that mislead the folks. But I believe. Listen, I believe in the people, especially in local government. They see the truth. They see way past the headlines, way past the false allegations, way past lies and half-truths. I believe in the people.
Ms. Swift?
I think our media coverage has been fair and equitable. I regret that it's very hard to get public records from the Guillory administration. Fees have been raised up to $1 a page, even when it's a PDF document that could be sent free by email. I wish we had more coverage of local news. Our newspapers are shrinking. I know we're getting rid of news anchors and some of your competitors. We need more news, not less. So many people watch Fox and CNN. I want them to know who their city council member is. We need to get it done locally. We need more coverage. I want to be open and fair and have the media in my office as often as they want to be. Open the desk drawers. Nothing's going to be hidden. We're going to make records open and accessible. But I want to encourage people that are watching this. We have other debates this week too. You need to be informed as to who your choice is. So I want to encourage Fox 15, KDN, please cover us. Please cover us every day. And people start paying attention. Go online, read your newspapers, check the news, be informed when you vote.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
So I think this race has been very quiet. And I think one of the reasons is because of the threats and accusations that come out of the administration, you see the media actually being more careful. They're double checking, they're getting more sources in what they're reporting. I truly do appreciate what they have done because otherwise we wouldn't know. Otherwise we really wouldn't understand what's going on over there. You watch the city council meetings and explanations are not given there. Again, I think the one stakeholder left out of so many decisions is the public, and our only voice, the only messages we get are from the media. And so I appreciate it, and I think they're doing what they can do with what they have.
And I have to rebut that. So the attack is that I'm not transparent. I can't be more transparent than I am. I go on KPEL once a week with a town hall. Anybody can call in. I want that. That was something my predecessor did a while back, and I thought it was a great idea. I go on another radio show after every single council meeting. I'm a guest at the council meetings. We provide as much information as we possibly can. We're the administration that brought open checkbook. That means every single citizen can see every check that's written from your local government. And if there's another way that we can be even more transparent, we will.
So I'd like to respond. The open records law never insinuated a talk radio show. What they want is that the documents in City Hall, the agreements signed, the emails sent, the messages text, available to the public. They did not say just go on a radio show and hide everything else. That is not written anywhere in the law.
Once again, when you attack, we have a right to rebut. I believe that LCG's policies are in line with APC's policies on public records requests. And look, we get a lot more public records requests, as I appreciate it, than APC does, and it takes a little time. Doesn't mean we can't get better, and we certainly want to strive for that.
When you're on the radio, though, you know, you are in the public, but you need to tell the truth when you're on the radio. If you're talking about detectives driving you around or other questions that you were given and you didn't tell people the whole truth, these are things that bother me. I mean, I like to listen to the news, but I want to hear facts. I want to hear the truth. I don't want to just hear words coming out that sound good. We all need the truth if we're going to elect the best person up here.
All right, Mr. Guillory, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal if you'd like.
There's nothing much to say on that.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. Let's talk now about libraries. They've been in the news a lot. Plans are finally moving forward to build a new library in one of Lafayette's poorest neighborhoods after some long delays.
Now it comes after controversial library board president Robert Judge, who was accused of dragging his feet, stepped down amid an outcry from the LCG councils. Candidates, do you support the Northeast Library project, and should Judge now leave the library board altogether? We're going to begin with you, Mr. Guillory, followed by Ms. Blanco-Boulet and Ms. Swift. You guys each have 1 minute.
Yes, and this is an area where I grew on. When I first was elected, I didn't honestly see the need in it. But after meeting with stakeholders, meeting with council members, both on the parish and the city side, I know this is a parish library system, but where we're talking about putting a library as a community would fall in a city district, and I wanted to get the input of our city council members. But this is an area where I feel like a lot of people, when you look at the facts, when you look at the needs, I think we can all embrace a library in the northeastern part of our city. And I think that more and more people are joining in that call, and I'm happy to see the progress.
All right, Ms. Swift.
North Lafayette is the most underserved part of our parish. Yes, I support this library. I supported it back in the 2000s when I ran Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation. I learned firsthand how people don't have access to dependable transportation. They have to run across the thruway to go places, including the library. We should have built this back in 2018. Every year we've wasted talking about this project, it's gone up exponentially. People are growing up there, children are growing up. People need help that the library gives them. Yes, I support it, and I didn't want to see them have to rent space. We know the need. We need to get this thing going and get our community back where we treat everybody fairly and equitably. North Lafayette wants to be treated just like every other part of this parish, and we need to listen to everyone.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
So I absolutely do support the library in the north side. Our library system growing up here was a very safe place for me as a child and for my children as I raised them. We've allowed it to become politicized. We've allowed it to become a game almost, which is not fair to our community, to our young people and our old people that want to go there to access information and to gain knowledge. So I mean, I think it's very important that we do stabilize the library. I think one of the school board members was joking that they're enjoying all of the attention being off of them and on the library board instead. I really don't think the library board should be making such controversial decisions. The parish council supported the North Library, and I think the board should have followed suit, absolutely, without the politics that were involved.
All right. We've got time now for the speed round. We're going to have some fun. 15 seconds each. Do you view the mayor president's office as a full-time position, or is it a side work type job? Now we'll begin with Ms. Swift, then Mr. Guillory, followed by Ms. Blanco-Boulet. 15 seconds.
It's two full-time jobs. It's City of Lafayette Mayor and Parish President. I will not have any side hustles. I will not teach at UL. I will not open heavy equipment rental companies, and I will not practice law. I promise you that. One job, Lafayette Mayor President.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
It's not two jobs, it's one, and the voters vote on that. It's a Lafayette Mayor President, awesome responsibility, but to imply that I'm a part-time mayor, and I've heard Jan say that a couple times. I know it's cute on the campaign trail, but it's not resting in reality. I'm absolutely a full-time Mayor President. I'm an overtime Mayor President, and I do teach a class at UL, and I love it. I love my students. It's one class. I don't have many hobbies. I'm kind of a nerd, but I hope they get as much out of it as I get out from them.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
So I resigned my position at the Acadiana Planning Commission to run a campaign full-time. I don't think you cross personal business into government agencies. I didn't feel like I could run a campaign on government time. My opponent brings his LCG staff to every function. They're here today with him. It is a serious full-time job. It is something that somebody needs to commit their entire self to, their thought processes. We have a lot of issues and we have a lot of potential. And if we are not really hyper-focused on who we are as a community, we will never reach that potential.
All right, let's move on to our next speed round question. Let's talk about the parish jail. Do you support moving the parish jail out of downtown Lafayette? We're going to begin with Mr. Guillory, followed by Ms. Blanco-Boulet, and then Ms. Swift.
Yes, I wholeheartedly support it. That's why we brought it forward. I'm thankful to work with our parish council members, our sheriff's department, and a whole bunch of other stakeholders, to include our Lafayette delegation in Baton Rouge. And it's going to happen, and we're excited about it. A big domino effect economically, quality of life wise, but also in our parish jail, most of the inmates there are waiting trial. So a lot of the services that our sheriff offers, being at the new location, they'll be much better situated to receive those services.
All right, next.
Is it me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, that's okay. I do think we do need a parish jail. I don't understand the dynamics of this deal. I would like to see the numbers and make sure it makes sense for the city and for the parish and for the sheriff. I think once those details are released, then I could make a decision. I think it is a good idea to free up some of the real estate downtown, but again, it has to make sense for the voters and for the taxpayers. That's the bottom line for me, is that it needs to make sense and it needs to be done well. I don't think that deal has actually been communicated publicly either.
All right, Ms. Swift.
I've had concerns about moving it. We have a courthouse that's falling apart. We do need a new jail, but to be able to move those prisoners from North Lafayette back to downtown for trials, we don't have place in the courthouse to put them. We don't have a safe facility. I also have not heard enough about the numbers on this deal for long-term maintenance. It's going to have to be public-private. I don't know how we're going to pay for this long-term. We have not seen those numbers pan out so far. But I am in favor of helping the sheriff have a place where he can house prisoners safely and securely. Yes.
All right, we have one more speed round question. You have 15 seconds, so let's keep it tight. Let's discuss government transparency. If elected or re-elected, will you all commit to timely response on public requests for information about the workings of LCG? Now, we begin with Ms. Blanco-Boulet, then follow with Mr. Guillory, and then Ms. Swift. 15 seconds.
I do commit to it. In fact, I will sit down with the media as well as other stakeholders to develop a process that is fair and transparent, so that the voters can know what's actually happening in a timely manner. I think it's critical for trust, for legitimacy, and for credibility.
All right, Mr. Guillory.
Yes, and I have been committed to it, but my duty and my responsibility, and I work for the people, not the media. Now, that doesn't mean we don't abide by the law. Of course we do, and we do the best that we can. But my civil service employees that I'm blessed to serve with, we're focused on the work of the day, and the amount of public records requests that come in are very voluminous, but we work hard to get it to you in an efficient manner.
All right, Ms. Swift.
Yes, I'm open to open and public records. I don't want to have to see lawyers sit by the media as they look at records. We should be giving people information so that they can make up their own mind. Is your government effective? So yes, we're going to come up with new policies to streamline how it's done and make sure that people have quick and easy access to information.
All right, you're almost off the hot seat. We thank the candidates for their discussion as this hour draws toward an end.
Yeah, that means it's now time for closing statements. You each have 2 minutes, beginning with Mr. Guillory, followed by Ms. Swift, and then Ms. Blanco-Boulet.
Well, again, thank you to KDN. Thank you to everyone who had anything to do with putting together this candidate forum. You know, to my wonderful citizens that I'm so incredibly blessed to serve. I have served you the best I could the last 4 years, and look at the accomplishments that we've made together. Look at our investment on things that matter: drainage, roads, quality of life, keeping our community safe, bringing jobs back, making our economy roar. We're doing all those things and more, but it doesn't happen by accident. If you look at our parish as a whole, we're more unified than we ever have been. Again, I'm so blessed to be endorsed by every single mayor in the parish. I'm so blessed and thankful to be endorsed by every chief of police out in the parish. I'm so honored, incredibly honored, to be endorsed by my partner, Sheriff Mark Garber, and the District Attorney, Don Landry. These guys work with me in and out, day in, day out. They know the work of the day, and I'm so incredibly blessed by that. But there's only one endorsement that matters, and that's your endorsement, and I humbly ask for that. We've had a lot of successes over the last 4 years, but we are just getting started. Look around you. Look at the progress. Look at where we were. Just little things like win and clean a city 2 years in a row, having our roads actually paved, having the economy that actually is diverse and not just talking about it. We are an administration of action, and we are an administration that cares deeply, deeply about our wonderful community.
All right, Ms. Swift, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity, KDN. And we're here on Easy Street. I love the name of your street here. It's just a great place to be. I didn't get a chance to tell you in my comments a little bit about myself. I moved here 40 years ago. I thought it was a short stop after college, after law school, and I fell in love with Lafayette. I fell in love with my husband, John Swift. We have 2 daughters, and I'm so proud to live here. I've had several opportunities because of the education I got to get. First of all, being a young lawyer, I worked in the courthouse. Then I got to work running the Secretary of State's office for several years. I streamlined transactions for business nationally. I set up the Uniform Commercial Code here and work nationally. I have a podcast some of you may know about, Discover Lafayette. I've had it for about 6.5 years. I'm the host and producer. It's my production. And I've learned from that we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth. It's more important to listen to the voters than to be talking about myself. So when I take office, I want you to know I'm going to be there to serve you. I'm bringing my skills as an assistant city parish attorney. I have been so involved in our community running Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation. I chaired the Lafayette Parish Industrial Development Board. I've been on the Chamber of Commerce Executive Committee. I have worked on so many boards and commissions. I know this community inside and out. And what I know more than anything is that people are ready for change. 2/3 of our voters want to see a change in this administration. So what does that mean? Not only am I a lifelong Republican, I haven't switched parties, I've stayed true to my principles, but also I'm going to use this as a full-time position. No bid contracts will be eliminated. We will be here to serve the people, and government will do what you can't do for yourself. But what you can do is vote on Election Day. Please vote Jan Swift. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Blanco-Boulet, you have 2 minutes.
This election is not only important, it's critical. If we don't truly get it right and put a qualified leader in the office of the mayor president, it will take the city and the parish 3 decades to recover. I am the only proven leader who has run a government entity for 9 years without any corruption, waste, or mismanagement. I'm the only non-attorney. I have a business background and an MBA. I'm the only one from Lafayette. I know our people, I understand our people, and I'm passionate about our future. We are going to build a community where our children can come home, have a career, have opportunities, and build a life. That is the most important thing to me. And what I want you to know about my priorities: 1, we're going to bring transparency and honesty back to LCG. 2, we're going to deal with crime, and we're going to bring trust back to the inside and the outside of the police department. 3, drainage. We're going to bring data-driven decisions while saving taxpayer dollars. 4, we're going to expand fiber to the home throughout the parish. And 5, I will use the full force of the Office of the Mayor President to go out and recruit good jobs with good benefits in the sectors of energy, IT, advanced manufacturing, and the medical sector, and many more. When my dad coached Cajuns football at UL, he had a saying: potential will get you beat on a Saturday night. He knew it wasn't his team's potential that would make a difference. It was how they performed on the field. Today, we talk a lot about potential in Lafayette. Corruption, waste, and mismanagement are keeping us from reaching that potential. It's not who we are, and it won't stop if we don't vote for change. I'm Monique Blanco-Boulet, and with your support, I'm going to make sure we turn our potential into the same kind of big wins I've built at the Acadiana Planning Commission. Thank you.
All right, I want to thank Josh Guillory, Jan Swift, and Monique Blanco-Boulet for their participation in this News 15 Lafayette Mayor President debate.
And of course, we want to thank you, Acadiana, for watching. Remember, Election Day is October 14th, and we'll hope you'll get out and vote.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you to the candidates, and stay tuned. News 15 Live at 5 is next.